I own Special Education Academy. We are advocates. We train everybody that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate, negotiate successful student outcomes. I do not live here, but I have several families that I serve in Seminole County and many families that I serve in Florida. And the reason I'm here today is the egregious acts of this school district, their commitment to deny students with disabilities basic requirements under law, not something special, not something extra. And they will include their staff attorney to make sure that it's unpleasant for parents at IEP meetings. When we posted about coming here for a press conference, the bulk of people that reached out to me besides families were school district teachers, school district evaluators about how terribly they've been treated by their own employer. We have an obligation under the law, under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, to educate students who are in need of special education and related services. And so when I first came to know my first family here a couple of years ago, I said what I say to any family that reaches out to me across the nation, it's not a problem, we'll go in there, we'll talk about the data, and we'll get it fixed. And that was not my experience. In the meetings in Florida, you have a unique situation in Florida that you're not allowed to record. Florida is a two-party state, which is fine, so then we don't record. Unfortunately, that doesn't capture all the shenanigans that may occur at IEP meetings. And so while we're in these IEP meetings and we ask in Seminole County Public Schools, if we're in a meeting and all the staff members are looking at a document and we say, could you email that to us? And they say, no, our attorney, Stephanie Stewart, is going to block you. So I think the parents are the #1 stakeholders under federal and state law, and they're not even allowed to have documents in the meeting. The meetings go on and on and on. There's several people from the district that are there. I don't know why. And so for this one case, my client called me and we had filed, we'd had problems with them. We were trying to work with them. The district would not provide the student who is in the 18 to 21 program VR, vocational rehab. They just said he didn't qualify. So I worked with the parent privately and he was able to go to vocational rehab. These are all agency funded, federally funded and state funded services that are for children with disabilities. It's your taxpayer dollars that they're denying students with disabilities. And so when we're in these meetings, it just is hard. We don't get anywhere. We reconvene. And so my client called me and she said, I'm outside of my son's school, Mikey, and there is a piece of furniture in front of the door. Now, I don't know where you live, but I live in Texas. This is illegal. We cannot trap children that are nonverbal in a building because you don't have enough staff. And when my client took pictures, these are several different days, it just kept going. And when my client asked the teacher in the self-contained class in the summer and the principal, she said, it doesn't matter, it's just ESY kids. It's just the summer, it's not gonna be very long. So these students have a high level of need. Some of them struggle to stay in the school. And when we got there one day, this young man was outside without an adult by himself. And so there's a basic requirement that you implement the IEP with fidelity. If you don't have enough staff, then you should tell these parents, don't bring your child, because I'm pretty sure this is a fire hazard. This is illegal. And so one of the news stations reached out to the district to see if they had a response, and they said the state didn't find them an error of anything. And so when we filed, it was a very tight frame because it was ESY that summer. So the state didn't find out a violation for IDEA, but they also found, they also reported to us that they do not rule on stuff like this. And I will tell you what the state said. The state said, the following allegations was not investigated by the Department of Education for Florida. The district caused safety concerns by blocking the building exit with furniture. However, we don't investigate complaints that are not related to special education federal law. So we are still filing with this, with safety of schools, but I think it's important that you know that this is what we're doing with kids with disabilities in your school district with your taxpayers. We're not notifying the parents. This is day 1, day 2, and day 3. So there's a reason that I'm here, because this behavior goes on and on. I have a hearing here from another family. It's not my family. I have advocates that work here. I have clients from Panama City to Miami, and I've never had a district in Florida be this awful. I don't know another word to say for it, okay? And so this little boy in this district needed medical care, he needed nursing. And your district you know what due process is. It's an administrative hearing for a child that needs nursing. Didn't want to be on the track team, didn't want to play football, didn't want to take somebody's place in the science STEM. He needs medical care, so he's alive. And this district went to due process to fight it. And due process for a family is usually around $30,000. And of course, the Department of Education for Florida found Seminole County non-compliant, and of course you have to give a child that needs nursing medical care. And so this is a top-down issue. Attorneys act off on the school district because that's who the school board hired. That's who they hired. And so you have to stand up and say this is unacceptable. So the other complaint that we filed with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, a federal complaint. And the complaint that I filed for Mikey is an emerging verbal young man, and he uses a VOCD, a voice output communication device. And it's an amazing bridge for kids that don't have language. And not only do they not use it, they don't ever use it. But they tell us they use it. But the mom, is going to come up here, and on an average, because you can pull the data off a communication device. It's just like your cell phone, you can pull the data. On average, Mikey punches on 180 YouTube videos during the instructional day. Does that sound like special education to you? And so we filed with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights because the federal law says that each teacher must be able to communicate with the student in their classroom with the same level of efficacy, whatever their language modality was. If it was Mandarin, if it was sign language, or a VOCD. So not only are they not educating him, they're trapping him in a building and they won't allow him to use a communication device. We asked for an evaluation. We disagree with their evaluation. Mikey hadn't had an evaluation for years. And so just like technology improves, so we just asked for an updated AT evaluation. They gave us the most junk evaluation that was 3 pages long. I said, did you trial a new device with them? No. What he has from elementary school is satisfactory. And so we asked for an outside evaluation, which is our legal right. And this district filed due process on this mom and took her to court because she asked for a $1,200 evaluation. So they're happy to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to take her to court. She's sobbing in front of the hearing officer to tell some judge how amazing they are. This is unacceptable. This is America. Your child has the same value in this district as any other child. And so we are going to offer for all the parents here a free training on how you can file effective state and federal complaints. Because I'm just one person. If you want change in this district, if you want change with Manny Diaz Jr. at the Department of Education in Florida, you've got to learn to file effective federal and state complaints and not be bullied by a school district. How ridiculous that you bully parents with disabilities who are already in trauma and deny their children their basic federal and state rights. And so we want to give a voice to it. When we posted this, another family reached out to me in 2018. Their child was visually impaired, wouldn't give them their vision services, so they had to go through due process. And of course that was found that this school district was not compliant. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Does that make you feel good to rob children after you take the state and federal funds? So this is unacceptable. All of my partner advocates are going to file. We're going to give these families a voice. And I'm going to let, tell me your name, Cindy.
My name is Cindy.
My name is Cindy. So this is Cindy. She's Mikey's mom. She's amazing. And she has a very unique story in that she used to be and laid down her life for this district. She was a teacher. And so when I met her, she believed everything was good and rosy and you could trust everybody. You should be able to trust a school district who is representing federal education when they say something to you at a meeting. And it's been unfortunate and devastating for her, but she wants to share her story.
I do. So I'm Cindy. I'm Mikey's mom. I was an educator for 20.
Share her story.
I do. So I'm Cindy. I'm Mikey's mom. I was an educator for 27 years. The last 17 of them were with Seminole County Public Schools, of which I was part of the admin team, a literacy specialist, head of MTSS, which is multi-tiered system of support. And I resigned my position on January 21st, 2021, because the school district would not provide the students that I was helping to get their services or testing or what they needed, and I could not handle it any longer. I resigned my position, And as I navigated with Mikey, I realized that Mikey, going into the 18 to 21 program, that my county that I loved had no idea what to do with Mikey at 18 to 21. I had a that I loved had no idea what to do with Mikey at 18 to 21. I had a breakdown. I called Karen, and that's when we started our representation and got the ball rolling. I just want to show you what one day looks like.
And so this is important for you to know if your child has a Chromebook.
One day looks like.
And so this is important for you to know if your child has a Chromebook, if your child has assistive technology they're using at school. All the data can be pulled off of that technology.
Yes. This is 1 day's worth. This is 1 day's worth of videos. 1 day. And each page here represents 5 videos that he clicked on. And on this day, he had clicked on 157 videos. Being the data junkie that I am, this is 1 day's worth of videos. I started at 6:50 in the morning and went to 151 days worth of videos. I started at 6:50 in the morning and went to 159. And on this day, he clicked 150 videos, sometimes clicking about 10 of them within 1 minute. When we went to get the data off of his iPad, how long he was using his iPad appropriately, it was 5 to 7 minutes a day. And when I went to get the iPad and my son that day, the iPad was withheld from me, and I needed to go in and speak with the staffing specialists and the SRO, and they went and retrieved the iPad for me.
Yeah, the principal was not going to give it to her because I'm a lot of things, but I'm obnoxiously transparent. And so I told them at the meeting, you know we can pull the minutes, right? We know you're not using it. So their response to that, instead of saying we messed up, let's clean it up, let's work with the parent, was to keep his voice from letting him go home. So it would be like if your child had a cane or wheelchair or hearing aids, and the school's going to keep that.
One of the biggest things that is hurting my heart right now is that Mikey participated in a vocational rehab work-based learning experience for a week. I had to get that experience myself by going to the VR department and registering him, because the school, Dr. Joni Shawls, and the people who are in charge of connecting with VR said Mikey is not allowed to participate.
He doesn't qualify.
He doesn't qualify.
He has to be ready for competitive employment. We're just making it up. We're just making it up.
So he did complete that work-based learning experience, and he did a great job. The school system did not want to accept the VR report card, and there was a little snafu with Mikey not being able to participate in VR this year because he had graduated. On the last day of school, Donald Fields, who was Mikey's assistant principal, said, "Great news, Mikey graduated." And I looked at him, I said, "He did?" "Yes, he can walk on Tuesday, but you probably do it later." And I said, "How did he graduate?" Well, I found out later in the fall when I spoke with his assistant principal now, Brittany Campbell, that since he had graduated on the last day of school the previous year, he would no longer be able to have his work experiences.
Which is the whole point of 18 to 21. So 18 to 21 is for kiddos that still need to be job ready, post-secondary ready, independent ready. So they've captured all of their state requirements, all of their credits, and that's literally what we're doing for the instructional day. For 375 minutes a day, we're getting him ready. He went to a private hospitality place this summer and did amazing. We had another meeting with Seminole County a few weeks ago, and again they said, well, he doesn't qualify. He already did it. You don't qualify to teach children. You don't care about children, and you don't care about harming them. So we're going to run this up the flagpole. We're going to give a voice to everybody. We're going to ask for a state audit for this special education department, which is probably the same as its regular education department. development, because it's unacceptable that you're that comfortable lying to your own employees and parents of kids with disabilities and think that you're going to get away with it.
And the last thing that I would like to say, as far as these benches, I had written a letter to, Rebecca Southward, who was the assistant principal for ESY at Lake Erie High School, Julie McDonald, who was the director of ESY at that time and now special ed director, and Tyson Zemba, his teacher, letting them know that over the years that we have gone to ESY, my son had been lost twice. Police had to find him. They sent 2 buses. He went to the wrong school. He walked out of school and was almost able to get to a very busy street. It has been Hades. So please take care of my son. And they assured me everything was great and everything would continue to be great and that they had the proper staffing. I'm not sure if a bench is proper staffing. I don't think so.
Yeah. So we're here to answer questions. What the legal obligation is the same in any county in America, but their comfortableness with giving misinformation to parents, stopping meetings, not scheduling a meeting, not letting them meaningfully participate. The entire staff is looking at documents and we're not allowed to have a copy. Well, we can have a copy when the meeting's over. Does that sound like meaningful participation when we're crafting a plan for her child? I don't think so. And so obviously this has gone on for a long time and nobody said anything. I'm going to say something. And I'm going to keep saying something until it's rectified. This is a staffing and a pathology in the school district that they're very comfortable with.
So the federal complaint is that about the bench and essentially the needs of special education students?
Yeah, so let's sort of tease that out. So the states and the federal government, while they both, you can file on disability, they have specificity. So the federal government is attached to the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the 504 Act. So that's accommodation. So one of his accommodations is during the instructional day, he has his voice output communication device. And because I know how effective they are, I filed that with the federal government. We filed with the state because that's their building. And so they said that there's a state safety people, which you've never been able to find.
No.
And so we filed separately. I filed separately on all of their licenses. I filed to remove the license for the teacher, I filed to remove the license for the director, and I filed to remove the license for the principal. If you can sit here and cackle to another disabled parent and go, it's not a big deal, it was just a summer, it might be fine with everybody else, but that's never going to be fine with me. If that's really how you care about children, you should not work in schools.
DCF did not investigate this. I foolishly called the school to let them know what was going on and it was supposed to be handled. I foolishly called the school to let them know what was going on and it was supposed to be handled. And I know I shouldn't have, but I did trust them. However,
With your advocate here, you think that was done because that had it been investigated and found to have occurred, that would have been the circumstance where that was separated. Yeah, well, we're still in timeline to file. So that's why we're here. We're very transparent. We don't have anything to hide. I work with school districts across the nation every day. But your leadership, your school board, your superintendent, and your law firm is problematic.
Sorry, I want to just
Yeah.
So this not part of the federal complaint.
So the federal complaint is about his voice output communication device being denied.
And you're saying it's being denied because it's being used for videos and not for
It's literally for communication, right?
and not for videos.
Yeah, so you can't do both. You can't be,
Videos and not for
it's literally for communication, right?
and not for videos.
Yeah, so you can't do both. You can't be like writing an email and watching YouTube on your cell phone, right? And so he's there for 375 minutes a day, getting ready to be, 23 years old and a grown man. She could have just kept him home. So if you're not going to teach him, then give the federal funds and the state funds back and say, we don't teach children with disabilities. But instead of doing that, they cackled to other people about how we won this one. You didn't win. Mikey's lost. So you know what? which is devastating for these parents to hear. This is probably what's happened the entire time he's been in the district. And parents trust schools in a way they don't trust anybody else in their life. Not their church, not their family members. Somebody at school said it, well, that's the end of it. Well, it's not the end of it with me. Because what I do know is when we get it right for a child, we get it right for everybody. It would be easier for everybody. But if you're just going to pin kids in a room, that's despicable. It would be easier for everybody. But if you're just going to pin kids in a room, that's despicable.
And you think that was short staff?
No, I don't think. She literally, so she walked in, so this is several days, she walked in and she said, why is there a door out there? She said, one of the staff members is scared of one of the students for extended school year. So she left. So we got 3 doors and 2 adults. So the reason we filed that he wasn't having his IEP is because the teacher said, I stand in front of one door and the other one stands in front of the other door. That's not teaching. That's trapping. That's segregation. I stand in front of one door and the other one stands in front of the other door. That's not teaching. That's trapping. That's segregation. That's isolation. It's illegal. But because I couldn't quantify that, and I'm sure when the state asked the school-based members, they were like, no, we were in here working on his IEP all day. I would love to tell you that people are people of habit and people that are dishonest are dishonest. But she literally, the teacher said, you tell them.
Yes. When I drove up to drop off Mikey's breakfast and lunch, and I noticed the door, I said, oh my gosh, how am I going to get in his lunch? And how are they going to get out if there's a fire? I called the teacher, she came out, she sat in my van, lunch. And how are they going to get out if there's a fire? I called the teacher, she came out, she sat in my van because it was cool. She said that it was a poop show in there, that children were running around, other children were taking other children's diapers off, and there were feces. There were only 2 people in there, and that's who we saw at dismissal. And the other staff member was upset and afraid of the students and went to another classroom.
That was meant to prevent students.
Exactly. Because that classroom had 3 doors that went either to the hall, this is the parking lot, and then this other door goes out to where kids can have like a rec area. No. And his teacher, that in the state complaint said she was delivering his IEP, sat in her car and told her, it's a mess in there. It's club chaos. And a teacher, we're literally blocking doors. So.
And I did file a Child Protective Services complaint because Mikey is in a classroom with 3 other students and the students can be dysregulated. And I understand that. And for 3 of the 4 years that he has been there have only been 1 teacher and 1 para because they could never hire anybody because people didn't want to have that position. This year, we were fortunate enough to have 2 paras and the teacher, but last year, in November of 2023, when I did call Child Protective Services, they did go in, even though Mikey was 18 at the time. Investigator Ayala stated that the teacher isn't doing anything wrong at the time. Investigator Ayala stated that the teacher isn't doing anything wrong, it's a staffing issue. And then when the school replied, and I have this in the investigative report, they put my son as the aggressor in the classroom when it was other children who broke teachers' toes, had to have scratch guards on their arms from the scratching, would scream and yell. And my son's behavior hasn't been a problem for 10 years. In fact, we took the behavior plan out. The whole IEP team said, yeah. My son's behavior hasn't been a problem for 10 years. In fact, we took the behavior plan out. The whole IEP team said, yes, we don't need that anymore. However, when the teacher and the 1 parent in the classroom at that time were dealing with that, my son ran out and they found him later in a bathroom in the pool hall.
So it's retaliation. It's not new. It's not exotic. It's just regular. You stand up. You invoke your federal rights. She invokes her procedural. So the state has to provide you procedural safeguards and procedural rights. They're for the parent and the child with disability. But if you say something, this is what you're going to get in Seminole County. So it's unacceptable, and we're not going to allow it. And so we're here to support whatever families need to file. When we get enough families filed together, then I can file a systemic complaint and request an audit from the Department of Education, because this is past unacceptable.
Yes, BOC, B-O-C-K, less, L-E-S, laugh, L-A-U-G-H, Bockless Law. Cindy,
Just regular.
just regular Cindy.
So we're happy to answer questions from parents or anybody. I mean, we've got so many emails that people don't want to be, they don't want to lose their jobs, but this is not specific to this client. This is not specific to this one. I serve several students in Seminole County, and it is a beating. It is a beating. Can you imagine being in a business meeting and asking somebody to just shoot you over an email what they're reading? No, our attorney's going to block your email address. Yep, that's our policy here. Oh, that's warm and fuzzy. So they are happy with it. We're not happy with it. And so we're going to give a voice to these kids and these families. Anybody?
I wanted to talk to you one-on-one when you're done.
We're happy to stay and talk one-on-one. And then anybody, if you have an email, we're happy to send you all the complaints. We're very transparent. We're happy to send you the federal complaint. Because the reason a student needs special education and related services is so they can be a successful adult, whether that's supported living. He's such a sweet young man, and he's robbed. He's never going to get this time back. He should have had, Florida has the most pristine requirements under transition. Transition is a requirement under the federal law that says students with disabilities, you have to write a program with a set of coordinated activities so he can be successful post-secondary. By law in Florida, it had to start when he was 12. It started when I became involved last summer when he was 19. Where are those 7 years? They're gone. See, I think he has as much value as any other kid.
And I see so many parents out there that I know are fighting the same battle that I am fighting with their children. So thank you for coming out, and we will help in whatever way.
Yeah. Oh, I love you all.
Yes.
My name is Raquel Marina. Thank you for sharing your story with all of us. Because I do know from past experience at this time, SCPS were good at retaliating, gaslighting, predetermination, and so many unethical tactics occurring in the system. I believe in that 100%, but I lost total trust in them. They're evil, aren't they? They're evil. They failed Emily and so many other kids in the school district and the school board.
So we have to hold him accountable. And I'll be here, I'll come back, as long as y'all take care of the humidity, scare me out. But I'm gonna fight for these kids.
Thank you.
That's the right thing to do. And we're just asking for basic, we're not asking for it. Can you imagine if your child was visually impaired, they wouldn't give you vision services? Can you imagine if your child needed full-time nursing and they said no? Like, but because it's all a little dirty secret, it's not a secret anymore. I got a big mouth and I'm gonna run it. So this is fixed when we have staffing changes. Thank you.